Today, we're diving into a growing crisis that's affecting communities across Canada, from retail theft and homelessness to the deeper consequences of political inaction. In this episode, you'll hear personal stories, expert insights, and hard truths about what's happening in our cities and why it matters to all of us. Let's get into it.
Funny as I was saying, John Tory doing his title, former mayor of Toronto, as let's say possible future mayor. I mean, John has confirmed.
Good morning. I don't know if I'm gonna talk on this video, but hang on. If it's something for me to talk, I will talk. But just sit back and observe. At the same time you're sitting looking, please subscribe, like, and share. Comment.
Eligible plans. Visit Bell Store or Bell.ca for details. Bell, the perfect family plan just got better. I went to the website of a famous online diamond company to find their 5-carat natural diamonds.
And how much was it?
More than $130,000.
How much was a 5-carat created diamond?
Their average price was more than $15,000.
What is our price for a 5-carat created diamond?
$6,499.
Wow! How much?
$6,499.
Wow! Look online, then come to spend.
And Vaughan, Scarborough, and Mississauga. $1 plus tax for a smooth, small premium roast coffee at McDonald's? That means rich, full-bodied flavor at a price that's just as satisfying. Must be McCafe. Enjoy a small McCafe premium roast coffee for just $1 plus tax.
the bus come through the red light. Red light.
On News Talk 1010, Toronto.
Jerry Agar joins us on Friday, Sweet Friday.
Has it ever not been?
Yeah, once. It was a Thursday night that they had an attack in France where they drove down, I think it was in the Riviera, they drove down a roadway and
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
killed a whole bunch of people.
Uh-huh.
So that seemed a little insensitive. But otherwise, I don't know that anything mitigated against a Sweet Friday today. What's going on in Jerry's world?
I'm going to be talking about the kind of devolution of the city. I mean, it's an extension of what I was talking about yesterday, but I'm tying a couple of stories together on the open here, and that is story, they're both stories you've talked about here, and that is this former Sport Chek employee being fired CP24, watching in front of him the LCBO. There are big consequences to that sort of thing, maybe more than you think so, and so I'm going to emphasize all of that coming up in just a few minutes. We're going to talk about, people are saying that the leaves are changing earlier, and I saw a headline that said, kind of, and nobody's doing anything about it. So I'm going to talk to an expert about whether
trees.
yeah, so whether we can get these trees in line. So that should be kind of fun. And Bob Reed put together, I think, a kind of a clever way of creating a question on touchdowns and fumbles around the Jimmy Kimmel thing. But it's not really actually Jimmy Kimmel that we're asking a question about. So that's a part of what's happening on the show. Oh, and by the way, as an extension of what I'm talking about in the open, I've got an expert on retail theft. So he'll join me at 10:20, and we'll talk about that because there are social and economic costs to all of us of what's happening.
Okay. You were talking about this woman that worked at Sport Chek and no longer works there. And this was in Vancouver, obviously, and somebody came in, stole some items, was walking out, and she thought, screw this, and went and grabbed their knapsack. And she got fired because I'm forgetting the exact phrase. It's like
No touch, no chase.
No touch, no chase, which is probably a good
Sounds
idea.
like something in kindergarten.
Yeah, exactly. Well, we couldn't play Duck, Duck, Goose.
We had a lot more fun when we were young.
Were we talking yesterday, though, about this guy who was selling a car and he took people on a test drive and they pulled a knife on him and they said, get out of the car. And he said, I'm not getting out of the car. And the guy stabbed him in the neck.
Well, that's like the Boston story.
Yeah, well, exactly. But for me, it was an object lesson in how resisting sounds like a good idea, like in terms of everything from pride to getting back at criminals, but at the same time, it's not without its dangers.
Yeah, well, it just depends on the individuals. I'm going to be expanding a little bit on one person who didn't tolerate it. You might remember this. It was Councillor John Thorpe.
I was remembering that this morning. Well, I don't think he's going to complain if I share this. Greg John, our friend who used to be driver and bodyguard to John Tory, and the other man.
And a cop.
And a cop, that's it. He sent me a story based on the Sport Chek thing. I was off duty and shopping at a PetSmart in St. Catharines, got into a physical
You see that driving?
with an obviously altered homeless man who came into the store.
He's an asshole, you don't know what he's doing.
He became belligerent.
Why going across the road like that?
And believe me, you never want to
Was
hear
he drinking?
a police officer's voice.
Okay.
It's pretty hard to listen.
Why have you heard it?
Because there was some guy...
Because you cheated in golf?
Yes. There was some guy who walked onto the fairway who wasn't even a golfer.
Oh, I see.
Wandering around the fairway. Sir. That was great.
Okay.
Hilarious. Okay, so...
Good thing I might come out to catch this jerk.
I identified myself and directed him to leave. He started to walk out, then he attempted to punch me. The fight was on. Off-duty Niagara Region officer who observed the fight from the parking lot. Sorry, I'm reading this off my phone.
Yeah.
Off-duty Niagara Region officer who observed the fight from the parking lot assisted with apprehension. Found out later the male was known to local police, a frequent flyer in the area. I felt duty-bound because if I didn't deal with him, he was just going to move on to somebody else. There were seniors and kids in the store. I felt like the right thing to do at the right time. Just goes to show you, you never know what...
People don't see the driving on this guy give me.
And of course, as you mentioned, Greg's a police officer, so, you know, he's
and so was Burnside. So maybe that plays into it. I recall seeing video from a security camera that was up above and behind the clerk at a store. I can't remember where this happened. It was in the U.S. somewhere. And you see on the video people just, normal day at the convenience store, and then a guy comes in, and all of a sudden the customer comes to the front of the line, pulls a gun on the clerk, and the customer behind him happened to be a special forces soldier and took the bad guy down. But that's a situation where, as a special forces soldier, he goes into that knowing what he's up against and what to do. He wasn't improvising. He knows how to do it.
Yeah, not the same thing at all, but my grandmother was walking on Bloor Street many years ago, and a guy came up behind her and grabbed the strap of the purse she had over her shoulder. She turned and went, "Oh, hi, Doug." It got worse. Like, it left. Yeah.
That wouldn't always work, I think.
I didn't Marcus G's column today. No, I just recommended people. It's so long, and I spent like half an hour preparing it and never gone to it. But, I mean, the thrust of it is about this Dublin Grove homeless encampment, and how there are people who are so compassionate, they'll take food, they run a thrift shop where everything's for free, they'll bring all sorts of stuff to the encampment. So he says there's them, and then there's, because it's a very Tony neighborhood, I don't know if it's necessarily Tony, but I mean a house is worth $1 to $2 million.
Well, it's Toronto.
He says things have begun to spray, and people are just sick and tired of it. And that's my read all over the city, if not all over the country. The people have had it with this.
Yeah. With those people.
No, well, he mentions that.
Yeah.
And so did Burnside was on your show, and he said there's a carrot and a stick, and she's all carrot.
Well, I said yesterday, and not to give everything away, but I'm going to repeat it. Coming up, I see more videos of her getting dressed up and dancing, and I used the term yesterday, she dances while the city burns. And we've got a real problem. And it isn't just a Toronto problem. We've got that story out of Vancouver, and I'm going to tie in some things that are happening in the United States in this regard as well.
All that and more coming up on the Jerry Agar Show. My work is done, so we'll see you all on Monday morning.
The Jim Richards Show, weekday afternoons from 4 until 6.
Download and listen to any hour. Straight to your phone or tablet by visiting newstalk1010.com.
Or stream News Talk 1010 Toronto directly to your smart speaker.
I'm here with Mike, a Ford employee, to hook me up with a deal on a new F-150.
Oh, with Ford employee pricing on now, you don't really need me. You pay what we pay.
So I just gave your price?
Yep, tell Mike sent ya. Or Maria.
Ford employee pricing is here, where you pay what Mike pays.
Or Genevieve, or Lee, or Kevin.
Right now, get up to $12,975 in total price adjustments on eligible 2025 F-150 models. For details, visit your Toronto area Ford store or Ford.ca.
This is News Talk 1010, CFRB AM, Toronto, a division of Bell Media, and an iHeart radio station.
It's 10 o'clock. Your update from the CTV Toronto newsroom starts now.
Good morning, I'm Stuart McGinn. It's mostly warm, but nowhere near as hot as yesterday kind of weekend we have in store. 16 degrees right now, the forecast after the news. Vaughan is seeking help from experts to try and clamp down on a spike in coyote sightings and attacks. The City of Toronto responds to word of 3 more speed cameras being vandalized this week, and late-night show hosts react to Jimmy Kimmel being pulled off the air. Details on these and other stories coming up, but first. News Talk 1010 time saver traffic.
4 lanes by the 407, we still have problems taking out the right lane, also problems going westbound. So the express at the 400, 2 left lanes are blocked up. The Don Valley Parkway still is closed both ways between Eglinton and the 401, Warden and the left on Kane, northbound lanes completely off limits. It looks like a car went into a house. Time saver traffic 5 for the code. Next update, 10:15 on News Talk 1010 Toronto.
CTV's Janice Golding has more.
I had a coyote standing right in front of the kitchen window. Dennis ran to make a commotion and scared the coyote off. Complete shock. I mean, I've heard of these stories a lot in the neighborhood, and I've heard them walking around, but I just never thought that they would make their way into the backyard. Yet a working session canceled. There were close to 2 dozen written complaints. Residents saying their pets have been killed, and they're worried to other dogs or have their children walked to from school.
I and animal services here at Contact Camp believe that there are 2 to 3 problem animals in Thornhill that we need to deal with.
A motion from a councilor that was approved yesterday asked Vaughan City staff to explore hiring qualified licensed travelers to deal with the coyotes. Here at home, more speed cameras in Toronto have been vandalized this week. 2 on Avenue Road and 1 on Mount Pleasant. The repeat action debate on the cameras themselves, as Premier Doug Ford has called for them to be removed. We spoke with Mark Campbell on More in the Morning, the president of the Ontario Association of Chiefs of Police.
These technologies, and I'm going to include both ASE, red light cameras, CCTV, and technologies that have been proven to be effective tools, not only in reducing speeding, changing some of the driver behaviors, making our roads certainly safer for everyone, and enhancing community safety.
Meantime, the city of Toronto this morning saying it's working with the company responsible for the speed cameras to prevent them from being cut down anymore going forward. It also confirmed it's that company, not the city and taxpayers, who put the bill when the cameras are reinstalled. Back here at home, Canada facing more pushback on the trade front from U.S. Ambassador Pete Hoekstra. Speaking in Halifax yesterday, he took aim at our government for labeling ongoing trade talks as a trade war.
I'm disappointed that I came to Canada, a Canada that it is very, very difficult to find Canadians who are passionate about the American-Canadian relationship. We ran a campaign where it was anti-American, held up. That's disappointing. We've created a lot of prosperity and wealth by working together on both sides of the border.
Hoekstra also accused Canada of walking away from a major trade deal, saying right now there is no deal on the table. Speaking from Mexico moments ago, the minister responsible for the trade file, Dominic LeBlanc, saying that, again, Canada will only agree to a deal that is best for our country. And after further their chance to weigh in on Jimmy Kimmel being held off the air over this comment about Charlie Kirk and Donald Trump. Seth Meyers opened up his show tonight, addressing what he calls the Trump administration's attack on free speech.
Completely unrelated, I just want to say before we get started here that I've always admired and respected Mr. Trump. Visionary, innovator, a great president, an even better golfer. I wake up every day, I count my blessings that I live in a country that at least purports to value freedom of speech, and we're going to keep doing our show the way we've always done it.
Trump, for his part, says he wants to see Myers, Jimmy Fallon, and other late-night hosts who insult him have their shows canceled. You can tap into breaking news anywhere. Keep in touch by downloading the CTV News app. News Talk 1010 weather, a high of 21 degrees today with mostly sunny conditions by this afternoon. A clear sky tonight with a low down to 12, and seasonal weather will persist through this weekend. Sun and clouds tomorrow with a high of 19 degrees. The warm day of the weekend Sunday with clouds but a high of 22. Right now it's 17. We'll begin our next update at 11 on News Talk 1010.
user, you, the buyer, pay that cost. Shrinkage, which is what they call that, has to be factored into pricing. Yesterday, I talked about the city devolving. It's not just a Toronto problem. The Sport Chek stories from Vancouver. But Retail Merchandiser magazine tells us Walmart, the world's largest retailer, has announced the closure of 3 of its stores in the United States, citing rising crime rates and unsustainable profit margins as primary reasons. The stores were located in Albuquerque, New Mexico, San Francisco, California, and Portland, Oregon. Walmart's decision to close these stores is part of a broader strategy to address the challenges of crime and profitability. The company's been facing increasing issues with theft and safety in certain locations, which has significantly impacted their operations. To mitigate these problems, Walmart has been implementing various security measures, including advanced surveillance systems, increased staffing for loss prevention, and partnerships with local law enforcement. However, these measures alone have not been enough to offset the financial losses caused by low profit margins and high crime rates. Now, you may not care about Walmart, but keep in mind that studies have shown that you benefit financially, even if you don't shop there, as they are so aggressively price conscious that they prevent other retailers from raising prices too high. Regarding Walmart pulling out of San Francisco, the Hoover Institute wrote, "We probably shouldn't call it shoplifting anymore, since that term connotes the idea of a person trying to conceal their crime. In San Francisco, there's no attempt to conceal theft. There's almost never any effort by store employees, including security personnel, to confront the thieves. Most they do is report the thefts of their cell phones." Why is shoplifting so rampant? The state in California, this is state law in California, holds that stealing merchandise worth $960 or less is just a misdemeanor, which means that law enforcement probably won't bother to investigate, and if they do, prosecutors will let it go. And this is exactly what Steve Ryan here in Toronto was worried is effectively happening in Toronto. Police do not respond. As we've so often discussed, crime is treated as an inconvenience by Canada's court system. The only person of any authority who seems to care is Toronto City Councilor John Burnside, who, as a former cop, physically put a stop to a theft at a Home Depot. Remember that? The Sun reported, he was on this show, but the Sun reported it this way. "It was wild," said the Don Valley East Ward 16 councilor. He was a Toronto cop for 10 years until 2001. The first thing I heard was the emergency alarms going off. And then I saw these 2 guys pushing shopping carts loaded up with Kimmel tools, handing out without paying. His first reaction was to get his phone out to get the video. But then the guy turned to me and said, "I'll kill you." At that point, Burnside realized it was a self-defense situation. It was very physical, he added. He was very wiry and strong, punches were thrown. But with the help of another guy, Rick Lipsowski, and an off-duty firefighter, the suspect was held until
suing everybody because their position is, you see, the courts didn't leave the story, and that's why they dropped it, and now they're suing everybody. And it's just a vicious circle. But for me, there's nothing more aggravating than watching these videos of people stealing and terrorizing people in their workplace, and other people saying, I get the safety aspect of this. I mean, I've dealt with this for many years. I've been injured, my staff's been injured, but at some point, we got to take back our city. And,
John, I agree with you, and I appreciate your call. Loss prevention in retail, actually we'll expand on that with an expert coming up in a moment. Here's our touchdowns and fumbles question. The indefinite suspension of talk show host Jimmy Kimmel generated a lot of discussion this week. And on touchdowns and fumbles, we want you to weigh in on this aspect. What did other talk show hosts say or do in response? Most, not all of them, just made a joke or two and moved on with their shows. Daytime talk show The View didn't address it at all. Touchdown or fumble, should Kimmel's colleagues and peers have seized the opportunity to make strong statements about freedom of speech and censorship? Did they fumble by not using the communications opportunity? You can vote it that way by going to news.1010.com. Or was the strategy a touchdown? It's sometimes best not to paint a target on your own back when you're also on the firing line. There was no shortage of comment both ways on the Kimmel story, which is smart to let others do the talking as far as the other talk shows were concerned. You can vote it a touchdown if they left it alone and you thought that was the right thing to do by going to news.1010.com and using the voting button. And Bob Reed, Brad Way's strategies will give us his take, and we'll have your vote results and look at some other stories on touchdowns and fumbles at 11:50 this morning. This is News Talk 1010. 10:15, News Talk 1010, time saver traffic.
Well, since no one asked me, I think Jimmy Kimmel should never go back, and it looks like Top will have cleared on the 401 westbound. It is pressed by the 400. It is still very slow from the Allen. We have some problems eastbound 401 and just by the 407. The right lane is still blocked off, but really no impact on the drive. Some volume 427 towards the 400. South Parkway was slow towards Newport, and we also have some on northbound lanes. We're in a racing left lane that's just north of St. Clair. A vehicle was driven into a house. New Continental weather, today we have 21 degrees, sunshine in the forecast. Right now we're getting there slowly. It's 17 degrees. Only a few days left to get tickets office for $149 plus 50% off list options of Specsavers. Conditions apply to specsavers.ca. I'm calling the next update at 10:30 on News Talk 10 in Toronto.
News is brought to you by the Friend House, where old-fashioned values such as love, care, and family are almost to the top.
How really real is reality television? Perhaps not there. Well, Rittenhouse Retirement Center does everything it can to be really real. Really great food, really great sweets, really great garden, and soothing water. A swimming pool, and a really great recycling. All these things, and really great care when needed. And by the way, Rittenhouse is in a really great location in North Toronto. So come visit and see how real Rittenhouse is. My number is 416-487-3392.
Driving on 403 to Oakville.
3392.
All the traffic people,
We'll even help you out.
or look in front.
During the Volvo Fall Experience event, tour-seeking drivers will surpass them for legendary safety, exceptional offers, and thoughtful design in every drive. A strong interest and spontaneous awesome adventures is a must. If this sounds like you, this September, lease a 2026 XC90 plug-in hybrid from $599 bi-weekly at 3.99% during the Volvo Fall Experience
Oakville,
event.
214,000 people. Population.
Stars of the family that is forged in fire, starring Chris O'Donnell and 911 Nashville, new series October 9th. Seasons free next day on Parade.
What's better than dreaming big? Having more chances to make it real. And during the Automax Dream Big contest, you'll get 30 chances each week to win $10,000. Plus a shot at the $1 million grand prize. That's $10,000 every single week. So when it ends,
there. Silence. It's underappreciated. Kind of like windows from Magic. We manufacture our windows with noise-reducing glass and airtight seals to keep the commotion out. While others add to the noise, Magic cuts right through it. Find out more at magicwindow.ca.
Looking for more value at the pump? With a PC Financial credit card, you earn up to 7 cents per liter in PC Optimum points on all fuel at Esso and Mobil stations, so you can get more points to redeem for more of the rewards you want. Apply today at pcfinancial.ca/Esso.
I went to the website of a famous online diamond company to find their price for a 5-carat natural diamond.
How much was it?
More than $130,000.
How much will a 5-carat created diamond?
Their average price was more than $16,000.
What is our price for a 5-carat created diamond?
$6,499.
I just exit off of the wrong exit.
$6,499.
Wow! Look online.
So I get back on.
Vaughan, Scarborough, and Mississauga. With most Subaru models, all-wheel drive comes standard. Heated front seats, high ground clearance, Apple CarPlay, standard. Eyesight driver assist to help when you're distracted by small foliage, standard. Guy announcing the radio ad now wanting a Subaru? Yeah, standard. Subaru, uncommon comes standard. Hurry into your local Subaru dealership today for lease rates from 1.99% for 24 months on select models. Making great value that, you guessed it, comes standard. Conditions apply. Dealer for details. Hey, seriously, can I get one?
You're listening to Jerry Agar on the iHeartRadio Talk Network.
Good to have you along. I was talking about the issue of retail theft, so let's get some expertise on it, generally speaking. And to do that, Executive Advisor, Loss Prevention and Risk Management at the Retail Council of Canada, Ruy Rodriguez. Good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm well. Is retail theft up, or does it just look that way because of some of the things like the LCBO thefts that are taking place?
No, it's increasing, and it continues to increase. There's some areas of the country where we're seeing some success in combating retail crime, but it is a problem that is on the rise.
Okay, and why is that? Is it a combination of things? Maybe the economy, maybe the impunity with which people seem to be able to do it, all of that?
Yeah, and I think the one big factor that we've been looking at and trending over the last few years is the lack of consequences for retail crime. So, we talk about shoplifting or retail theft, and it's for a long time perceived as a property crime or a low-level crime, a victimless crime, common language that's utilized. And therefore, a lot of the individuals that are repeat prolific offenders, organized retail crime groups, the damage, the very little punitive damages to their consequences, and it's a revolving door, meaning even when they do get arrested and charged, they're typically released same day and are back re-offending. So the lack of tougher consequences on retail criminals, especially those that are repeat criminals, the larger volume, the violent criminals, it's translated into these criminals becoming more brazen, more confident in their ability, and to at least to an increase.
Well, I think you were mentioning you think people believe there's such a thing as a victimless crime, but that's an oxymoron, a contradiction in terms, isn't it?
Yeah, and in retail, certainly over the last 10 years, but more so post-COVID, the increase in violence that we see in retail is up considerably. But reality is, the business itself is a victim. When a business is being victimized with continuous theft and losing profits and having to try to stay in business, that in itself is a victim, the business itself. However, whether it's employees, customers who are being now confronted by individuals that may be using weapons during the commission of their thefts, and we see it daily, who are violent, physically or verbally aggressive, the employees, sometimes customers who are standing by, become victims of their crime. So it's certainly not a victimless crime in any sense, but that for a long time, that was the perception. And our criminal code, our legislation in Canada, haven't really changed in many years, so they're not adopting to the type of crimes we see. Theft under or theft over is not a good enough legislation or punitive embeddable offense to deal with a retail criminal that might steal less than $100 every day, but does it every single day, and in doing so is aggressive with their behavior. So we need to see some reform, and then additionally bail reform. When individuals that are repeated and are being released same day, there's enough there to demonstrate a show cause to keep them, because they demonstrated they're not a good citizen. If they're before a crown and they're released on their own recognizance and asked to not go back to their business or to be a good citizen, and they clearly demonstrate they're not by going to reoffend, then we shouldn't be releasing those individuals back out again. We're sending a message to them that there's no consequences to their action.
Ruy Rodriguez is with me, Executive Advisor, Loss Prevention and Risk Management at the Retail Council of Canada. I want to get your thoughts on something I touched on my opening commentary. If I am a retailer here in Canada, I look at, is it fair to say, Ruy, that I will look at, here's my business, here's my product, here's how much theft I'm going to experience, therefore I'm going to factor that ahead of time into the pricing of the products that I do get paid for?
Not really. Businesses naturally factor a certain level of waste or loss.
Thanks for joining me on this important conversation. If today's episode sparked reflection or raised questions, I invite you to share your thoughts below. Let's keep the dialogue going, because civic change starts with awareness, and awareness begins with us. Until next time, stay informed, stay engaged, and stay strong.